Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast. This is your guide to the geek side and the companion to the Secret Friends Unite Facebook group. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, and this week, Charlie is away on a heroic mission, moving furniture and helping his friend move. But this is the perfect chance to put up the Secret Friend symbol. And who comes to us this week as a new secret friend? And that is Carly Kjelstrom. Carly, thank you for joining us. Now tell the secret friends a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, Todd. My name is Carly. Some of you may actually know me as Scarlet. I am all over the interwebs as Scarlet_stream. I am a mom. I'm a crafter. I'm a graphics designer. Avid book reader. There's probably not a single book out there that I haven't at least heard of. I mean, yeah, I'm totally a nerd or a geek, whatever you want to call me. I'm there, 100%.
Perfect. Yeah, you know, we try not to offend. It's like they always say, what is nerd is the smart one, geeks are more obsessed. So either way, it can be both. Really, doesn't matter. Geeky nerd, nerdy geek, whatever. We're all there. It works. I was on a podcast once called Neek, where they just combine the two, and I'm like, okay,
there you go.
Whatever floats your boat. But we always ask everyone when they come on the show that's new, we want your geek origin story. How did you become the nerd you are today?
Sure. So I think my nerdy geekiness, you know what? I'm gonna take it. My neekiness. I'd say a lot of it started as a kid. We got a PS2, our first station aside from the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. My brother and I got a PS2 for Christmas, and let me tell you, we flipped out with excitement. It was so great. We opened up that box and we were like, what? Neither of us were expecting it. And so I was all over the Jak and Daxter games. And so that and playing Pokemon Crystal on the Game Boy Advance were my first games. I played the heck out of those. I've probably beaten Crystal an unhealthy amount of times. And I love the Jak and Daxter series. They are one of my most favorite games. So I think it all started there. A lot of my life mostly revolved around soccer, though. At that time I was a very big soccer player, played it from 4 to 18, but I was always reading books. I was always delving into fantasy worlds. I loved it. Books were my way of becoming something else, and I connected with the characters, and it was probably honestly what saved my life millions of times is these books. Let's see here. When I got older, definitely played more games, got married, and I got a PS4 as our wedding gift to ourselves. Best decision, one of the best decisions I ever made of a bigger purchase, because we played the heck out of that PS4, and that's probably where I really started to delve into video games, nerdism, I suppose. My husband really got me up to par with everything superhero. It was fantastic because I loved it. I loved MCU, and so he helped me delve further into the MCU, and it was great. Like, we watch, as I call it, Teenage Angst Avengers, but it's Avengers Assemble. Their opening theme credit is totally teenage angst. So we watch that all the time with the kids. So I'd say it's about when I got married that I was really able to delve into my geeky side and really let that finally come out and let people see me for who I am as a girl who is a geek. It's just great. I love all of it. That's, you know, and then Scarlet. So I will let you all in on a little known secret. The name Scarlet, that most of you know me as, is my tag on a Warrior Cats fan fiction website.
Holy cow.
I write on a Warrior Cats fan fiction website with a group of good friends. We've become friends over the years. I've been there for quite a few years. I had a good friend who was part of it longer than I was, but he got me into the website, and I was reading around, and finally I joined in. And so that's where Scarlet came from, because my first character was Scarlet Paw. There you go. Now you have it. That's just how geeky I am, guys. Is Warrior Cats fan fiction.
Holy cow! The secret is out, guys.
The secret is out.
Oh my! It's like a you're coming with secrets you want to divulge, and we appreciate that.
Yes.
I do want to say this. You mentioned Jak and Daxter, and wow.
Oh yeah.
I love that series as well, and I have PS Now. It's not on PS Now, which is just really frustrating because I'd love to play more. And also that series is kind of dormant, and I'm like, why haven't we had more?
Yeah. We had Jak and Daxter, and then Jak 2 and Jak 3 and Jak 3. So good. So good. What
Grand
a twist
Theft
in
Jak,
there.
right? It was like they opened the world and made it fun.
But then we had Jak X, and I never got to play Jak X. And then there was the Daxter side game, and I never got to play that. And then that was about it.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of sad. And you know what? I'm gonna go get Jak X now. I'm gonna go get Daxter, and I'm gonna play those because Jak 3 is not the end of the story, folks.
No,
Jak 3. Oh man, you played Jak 3, right? That twist in there with Mars and everything. Oh, so good. So good.
I think the package, the collection was like just on sale for $17. So you get all 4 games. So pick it up. Pick it up.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, you know what we do when we start the show, we talk about our episode number, which we're on 312. We have comic issue 312 as well. This is the Avengers number 312. Said came out mid-December, so probably 1993-94. This is an Acts of Vengeance storyline, which not sure if you've ever read this, Carly, but Acts of Vengeance was all about the heroes, or the villains, I should say, taking on heroes they normally didn't go across. So it's like a crossover. It's like you get X-Men villains taking on the Avengers, and X-Men villains taking Avengers villains taking on the X-Men. It was very weird. It was an interesting event. That's why we have the Freedom Force. That's the bad guys there taking on the Avengers team. And the title says Avengers Park thrashed by Freedom Force. Man. Cover's pretty small, but this has Scarlet Witch in her classic costume, Vision in classic white. This is after Vision basically he and Scarlet split up, and he lost all of his personality. Got Falcon and Hank Pym, who's also from Ant-Man. He was an Ant-Man back in the day. So a little bit for you.
Oh yeah, I know that one. And there's Wasp up there. We got her.
Yeah, so it's an interesting team back in the day, and it was just kind of an interesting storyline. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Vision and Scarlet Witch. So it was a timely cover, and if you are interested in the book, it's on Marvel Ultimate. It's their online service that you can read every comic in the history of Marvel. So check it out.
There we go. I gotta say, one thing that I love about this is the fact that Falcon's feathers are somehow attached to his bare arms.
Yes.
It's just comic book logic, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Gotta love it.
Uniforms, and his arms are bare on top, which is like, come on, you make it look cold.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It is good stuff. But with that, Carly, we got to talk about the rumors and news with Madam Web. So without further delay, Madam Web, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Web's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Web. Well, Madam Web, you heard Carly talk about the PlayStation 2 as like one of her first consoles. I believe your first console was actually Hoop and Stick, because that's how old you are. Yeah, it wasn't very exciting, but it kept the kids entertained. Oh, well. Carly, we start off the news this week with a story about Disney Plus. They're going to get a TV series about Wakanda.
Yeah.
This was kind of just a surprise because I wasn't expecting this. They talked about all their shows back in December they were going to release eventually, and this one wasn't included. And obviously with, Black Panther star passing away, tragic, we weren't sure what even was going to happen with Black Panther, but now it's Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther, is going to be involved with this, an executive producer, most likely going to be directing some of the episodes, but telling us all about the world of Wakanda, the characters. They might go back in history, telling us some history. This is kind of cool. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, I'm excited for this. I am a huge fan of cultures that seem, a little behind the times, but are somehow so technologically advanced to everybody else. There's just something so nice about that dichotomy there. I love Wakanda so much. The people are amazing and beautiful. The lore and their history is going to be phenomenal. And I don't know if it's just maybe the MCU has helped me become more of a fan, but we watch some of the older Marvel cartoons in our family, and there's just something so unique and special about the Wakandan people and everything that they are. Like, I'm excited for this. I loved the movies. I'm ready for this. My mind is ready for more Wakanda. It's been a short while since what is his name? I'm never good at their names.
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick, thank you, Mr. Boseman. It has been a while since Mr. Boseman passed, but it's still he seriously embodied everything that I wanted Black Panther to be, and what I wanted a Wakandan king to be. That it'll be really interesting too to see from a fan point of view, to see where Disney and Feige and all of them are going to go with this now that he is gone. I know that Wakanda is not Chadwick Boseman, but he was Wakanda. So it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the movie Black Panther 2. Reportedly, it's going to start filming in Atlanta in July of 2021, with most of the original cast returning. Interesting to see what they do with that. Obviously, they said they're not going to replace him, but they didn't say there wouldn't be a Black Panther. So there was storylines in the comic where Shuri took over the mantle as Black Panther, which would be excellent as well. Yes. But we also know, but I was going to say, and obviously we know that the king can be challenged by any of the tribes. So that could also play along there as well. So it'll be interesting. And then, with having this TV series, I mean, what that presents them is an opportunity to really build that world out, new characters, and tell, like we said, the history and the maybe tales of the kings that passed that you saw. That you saw them, basically having almost like the Lion King moment with all the different. Yeah, well,
that religious moment was really cool, though.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a lot of. I'm glad they're doing this. I like what, especially we're going to talk about WandaVision, but what they can do with TV now. We're seeing it, and it's like, wow, they can really take chances with styles, the pacing. And it's really exciting. So I love that you're getting a huge cinematic film, but then you're going to get something that really can do something different if they want to do.
Yeah, and that's something my husband and I talk about a lot. Is we've done the climax, we have done the end game, we have gone as big as we can possibly go with the destruction of half of the entirety of everywhere. It wasn't just our universe; it was everywhere, and. Oh, man, we're going to talk about that about WandaVision, too, because that was something else. But,
exactly.
We have gone as big as you can possibly go. And the good guys lost. And then they won again. But, we often ask each other, where do we go from here? Well, now we go back inward. Now we individualize. Now we see what these people are actually made of. Sure, we did their origin stories, but from their origin stories, they just became part of a group. So now we come back into them. We come in back and see who is, who are the Wakandan people separate from all of this? Who is Falcon on his own? Who is all of these other people? What kind of mischief is Loki going to get into? How is Hawkeye going to deal with the fact that his family left, he killed a crap ton of people, and now his family is back? So it's going to be really cool. I like the grand overarching stories, and I love when we get up close and personal with the backgrounds of these characters.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to see too is we're going to get some crossover too with some of the other characters in the MCU, which I think makes total sense. So
and maybe even some other universe crossovers like X-Men and stuff.
Possibly, because I can go really geeky on that eventually, and maybe, I think we will actually. We'll talk about that. Like I said, we're gonna keep just pulsing that in here so people will know that's what we're talking about. But yes, story number 2. This one frustrates me and makes me hopeful all at once. So
Right?
apparently Nintendo, we've always heard rumors that Nintendo was going to go into television, live action. They were going to make these series, and potentially Netflix was their partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing ever occurred. So we're like, maybe it was just rumors. Maybe it was somebody's dad who works at Nintendo said something, as we know.
Pipe dreams and stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Pipe, just like in Mario. Very nice. But yeah, so apparently this actually was going to happen. And we heard this because someone who's involved in the project at Netflix apparently said, yeah, everything was going ahead. Shigeru Miyamoto was involved. There was a meeting with him, and it was supposed to happen. And what happened? Apparently, this was U.S. comedian Adam Conover, who was the person there. He was basically was the person who finally talked about this, which is great. These stories about what could have been always come out. Well, in this instance, it was all going to happen, and then suddenly someone leaked this, and it was going out. And Nintendo decided they were just going to pull the plug, and it was over. But apparently we were going to get a Zelda series, and we were going to get a claymation Star Fox series.
Yeah.
Both of those are really intriguing. And Netflix, I mean, back in the day before we had The Witcher and other things like that, Netflix didn't have exactly the best track record with any type of like genre TV. They did House of Cards, but beyond that, they did, Orange is the New Black. But we didn't really have like a show that could demonstrate they could handle science fiction, fantasy, comic books, or anything like that. But now we know what they can do, and we're like, man, it feels like such a wasted opportunity. So, is this something you would have been excited for?
Oh man, so I'm coming at this from so many different angles. I am a huge Legend of Zelda fan. Breath of the Wild got me into it, and then my husband, of course, was like, yeah, I got all these other Zelda games. I'm like, ooh. So I am all over Legend of Zelda. I adore it. I'm not versed in Star Fox, but I just love the idea of any kind of video game becoming something visual. In terms of like TV or movies or anything like that, and done correctly. So I never heard any of these rumors. If I had, I probably just dismissed them because I'm that person who's like, a rumor is a rumor until somebody concretely says I'm not going to pay attention to it. But the fact that, well, apparently Nintendo actually pulled out, then that means that it was more than just rumors. But here's the thing. You don't mess with Nintendo. Nintendo sets the rules and you obey them. So I imagine what it was Nintendo's like, hey guys, we're coming to you. Maybe we have other people we're working with. Maybe we don't. You don't know. But we're here with you. And if you tell anybody, we're leaving. Well, somebody snitched. Somebody leaked. Somebody did something. And Nintendo's like, we told you. Goodbye. You do not mess with Nintendo. There is no gray area here with Nintendo. You do not mess with them. And so I just, there's some people out there who are now like, oh, Nintendo, why do you do this? Why? They're Nintendo. That's the only reason you need to know. Like, you don't. So like, what about you? I mean, how did you feel about all this?
There was an IGN video, it was an April 1st video, I'm not sure if you ever saw it, where they essentially made a trailer for a Legend of Zelda TV series.
I ignore everybody on April 1st.
Okay, and as you should, because it's just it's a trap for fools. And I saw this and I'm like, and I knew it was fake, but still, what they did with it really intrigued me. And I'm like, okay, Nintendo is not known for their story. They're known for their gameplay. They have some story in there. They build up lore and things like that. But Link is a silent protagonist. Nobody really speaks. We have finally got voice in Breath of the Wild. So,
which I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, because it felt a little bit. It's almost like they didn't go all in. And I feel like if you wanted to go all in, that's great. But when you have some voice and then it's like the world is essentially silent when you enter it in, it seems like it's empty to a point. So, but for me, in this instance, I'm like, this would be fantastic because it allows them to tell story in another medium where they don't have to feel like they are pressured to do it in a game. And that's perfectly fine. I get that. That's their creative endeavor. And with something that they could do to even have a different viewpoint, make Zelda the main character in this and let Link
please, yes,
or whatever, or
yeah.
not even involved, or maybe he gets trapped or something, and she has to venture forth because she's been shown to have skills and be different characters.
Breath of the Wild too.
Absolutely. So it's time that we could have those different viewpoints, and they could pick and choose. They could make their own reality because Zelda The Legend of Zelda has, I think, 8 different timelines or something like that. My son's story of Hyrule or whatever, 2 or 3 or. What if every time Link dies, it creates a new timeline, apparently? So my son tries to tell me this stuff, but I'm like, this could be great. It could be its own fake storyline, so you don't have to worry about it like not being canon. And I know this is blasphemous, but I don't mind if Link talks, because I understand it works in video games. That's fine. It comes from the era when there was no voice in video games. But in a world where you're going to have a protagonist, and unless they say mute is mute.
He's not mute. In fact, in Breath of the Wild, if you read some of the journal entries from Princess Zelda, she says he has spoken to her, but because he is such a reserved person, you just don't ever hear him speak anywhere else. So he has spoken to her a few times, so he's not mute. He's just quiet and reserved and thoughtful. I mean, I'd love to hear what Nintendo thinks Link sounds like. And so you bring up that it doesn't sound like they went all in on the voice acting, and I imagine it's because it's much like a dubbed anime. There's not very many good dubbed animes, like, ever. It's either really excellent in Japanese and then really terrible in English. So that's kind of how I felt like Breath of the Wild went.
Yeah, and I think that's where something where you have a company like Sony, who is known for their cinematic adventures. They use mocap. They do all those things. And Nintendo is frugal, very frugal. They don't invest in voice direction. They don't invest in those things. So they're not really great at it because they just don't have the experience, or they don't have a dedicated production staff that does those type of things. And like you're saying, dubbed anime, my son's a big anime fan. I used to watch it, and I've gotten more and more into it. It's essentially, a lot of anime is very cheap. They don't pay a lot of money because they want to do it frugally. So they are going to pay to reanimate the lips and those things. And when they don't do that, obviously it's going to look like, why are the lips still moving, or why is the person talking and nothing happening? So it's one of those things I think can be done well. It just if somebody wants to spend the money. So I'll be curious to see where they go with this. But yeah, it's very hard to do, though, a television show where you've got essentially someone who doesn't speak at all, where you can do it.
I think it could be done, and it could be really interesting.
Well, I think you can do a character that's like in The Witcher. Geralt is not a verbose character. He doesn't speak all the time, but what he says, it's important, and it's makes sense. So same thing. He doesn't have to go on and go on and go on and go on. He can just shortly describe what he is. It's like Clint Eastwood in his movies. In those movies, he never spoke very often. He said enough to get across, and that's perfectly fine. And let the sidekick that's wacky, like Tingle or someone else, do all of that extra stuff. Exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. I think this could be cool. And Star Fox, that series is wacky and crazy, and I think it could be a lot of fun, especially using claymation. That would be so cute.
Of all the things, claymation.
Exactly. Why not? Nobody's doing enough claymation these days.
Nintendo.
Yeah, that's right. So we know that Mario now is getting a movie with Universal. They have their theme park opening up. So I expect this is just the beginning. Nintendo knows they need to use their IPs, their properties, make money off of it. So I expect there's going to be more coming, but just, maybe it's better now than it was then, because, streaming is like king and people want to put money towards it. So HBO Max, Netflix, Amazon Prime, those are all partners they could work with. So good deal. So next story is, I'm glad we're able to talk about this, because I've been wanting to talk about this a lot, but we just haven't had time on co-op mode, and my co-host does not like video games, so now I can talk about this, and thank you for bringing it up. But yeah, so Mass Effect Legendary Edition was announced. So for anyone who doesn't know what this is essentially a remaster that takes all 3 games, minus the multiplayer, all the DLC, excluding one, which we'll talk about, and it is essentially just prettying it up for 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR, no ray tracing. It's not using a new engine. It's just basically, and they're also tweaking some of the wonky parts of part 1. The load times will be faster. And apparently FemShep, or female shepherd, is now going to be canon, and her look will be canon throughout all the games where it wasn't before. So, but beyond that, they're not really changing the storyline. They're not really changing anything there. They're not taking away choice. And I think they are including the comic book or whatever it was that came out on PlayStation 3, because the first game never came out on PlayStation 3. So basically, Mass Effect 2 came out, and they used this comic book to essentially choose all these choices that were where you started.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so apparently, well, the Xbox people in Xbox, I don't know if that was an option. If you didn't play 1, you had the same experience, how they did it. But yeah, so this is going to be coming out in May.
May 14th.
May 14th, thank you very much. And
I'm excited for this.
PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, but no Switch, which I'm surprised, because I think you could do a Switch version that is a little pared down and everything, but I think it could work. It's funny enough, the Wii U got Mass Effect 2 or 3. They didn't get the whole trilogy, which was just the dumbest thing in the world. But yeah, so this is coming out, and a lot of people are excited. I love this. Mass Effect is my favorite series from that generation, and Mass Effect it's probably in my top 3 fictional universes.
Nice.
Outside of video games. My son bought me the collection. It's the huge collection of Mass Effect's comic books that's out, which I want to get into because it's more storyline with that. There is an anime of Mass Effect, and there's some other things too. I haven't watched that. I heard it was probably not very good, so surprise. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be very exciting, and I will tell you, I'm a dumb person. I missed out on all the merch when this game series first came out, so I bought the cash. Is it called cash?
You did?
I did.
I'm so jealous.
Dumb. I'm so dumb. It's still available. It's $150. Does not come with the game. Comes with a full-sized helmet, which I don't think it's safe to wear for motorcycling or anything like that.
No, it's totally a prop.
Yeah, but it's awesome, and it comes with steel book and different things like that, but doesn't include the game. But I'm like, you know what? I love this series so much. I can finally do something with it. Enjoy that geekiness. So this is all coming out, and you've never played this?
No. Well, okay. So never is a strong word here.
Okay.
My husband has them all on either Steam or Origin, one of those two, and I tried to play it using an Xbox controller, but we couldn't map it to do anything correctly, even though we tried following all the directions and everything like that. So it became a really annoying experience. So I've played probably the first 45 minutes, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. So I've gotten as far as where you get your car, whatever the car. Yeah, and that thing drives me nuts.
It's like driving drunk.
100%. I wouldn't know. I've never driven drunk. But just saying, it's ridiculous. And I don't I would get to that point and we would move. Again, we've moved so many times in our 5 years of marriage. We'd move. I'd restart because something would go wrong somewhere or another and I wouldn't have my save, or it would have been so long that I might as well start over because I don't remember anything. So I've restarted this game. So when I say never played, I mean I don't know anything about the games enough. So no spoilers, anybody. I swear, if somebody comes onto my Twitter after this and is like, hey, did you know this is going to happen? I'm going to block you. I'm going to do it. I've never blocked anybody on Twitter. I will block you.
We are a firm no spoiler. I mean, and we typically say spoilers in advance of anything like that. But yeah, we're no spoilers, kids. I will say, and I'm sure your husband has already said this, but one has it's the most janky because it was trying to be a PC RPG, but it was also trying to be a console game. So I'm not sure what they've done to smooth that out, but I think that's what needed the most help. And I started the game on PC and I had so many issues with it, I stopped. And the reason I got an Xbox 360 was for that game. My friend loaned it to me. I played it and absolutely loved it. And so I continued on with that series and played Andromeda as well. I think I even played, there was a mobile game that I played and it was really bad too. But it's the game that I probably got the most out of. I played all of the DLC, but it's been so long now. The series started in 2007. I forgot a lot of it. And there's so many, and the cool part about this game is you make choices.
Yeah.
And they carry forward in each game. And I know a lot of people are disappointed in the third game because they didn't like how it ended. But I'm like, the ending isn't it's kind of like a journey. It's your choices along the way. It's the experiences you have. Yeah, maybe show up at that vacation destination and the shower doesn't work, or you have a bad experience with the food. You got food poisoning or something. But it's the journey you got there. It wasn't that's not what I want to focus on. The same thing here. It wasn't the ending of that game that really made it, I mean, the other two games and everything else up to that point meaningless. It was just not as redeeming, and endings are hard to do. So I don't hold it against that game. Now what I do hold it against them is Andromeda, which was the continuation.
We don't speak of Andromeda in this house.
No, and you shouldn't, because it was, it should have been called something else, because it didn't feel like a Mass Effect game. It felt like it was just, it just didn't work. So, but I'm excited this people are going to get a chance to play this game in the best way possible, like yourself, because you don't have to worry about, things not working. And apparently they have tweaked the Mako where it actually drives well.
Nice.
And the visuals where they showed like the comparison between the versions.
Oh, it's beautiful.
As a graphic designer, it almost looks like somebody put grime over and then somebody finally put some filters on it or something, cleared it up. It's crazy.
I think it's fantastic. My husband looks at it, he's like, yeah, okay, it's different. I'm like, you don't understand. This is so much better.
Yeah. And the DLC is definitely worth it. DLC isn't always worth it, but in this instance it is. And you put in here about this Pinnacle Station DLC, which I actually don't even remember what that was. So that's a good thing, because
maybe
that DLC no longer exists because apparently the files were corrupt, or they lost them or something.
The original source code has been lost, and all of their backup files have been corrupted. And they even point out that in the PS3 version, it's not there either. It's just gone. And they say it's not for lack of trying that we have tried. It's been an emotional roller coaster, in quotes, as they put it. They're like, but had we tried to build this from ground up, which is what we would have had to do, following kind of the same guidelines, doing what we could with what we had, it would have taken another 6 months. And they're like, was 6 months worth one DLC? In my opinion, no. Yeah. I honestly don't think I'm going to miss this one DLC, having never played the game. I think I got it real quick before we keep talking about this. I got to go back real quick to just Mass Effect in general. When you talk about choices, my husband has pointed out to me that there's one character in the first game that if you talk to them correctly and befriend them in the right way, that actually they kind of like stalk you all the way to like the third game. And so like in the third game, they come up to you and they're like, hey, you remember that one time? And you're like, whoa, first game much? And so I'm excited for the choices. I'm so stoked for getting to play this game. I am sad that there will be one missing DLC in a way, but I'm not devastated. I'm going to love this game anyway. I'm going to love this series. I already know it. We played Andromeda. My husband played it, and I watched, and it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. That was a gorgeous game, and the worlds that we got to visit and some of the people that we got to meet, it just looked amazing. Could care less for anything else. Like, it was suddenly all focused on his sexual life and whether or not he could get with somebody, if they were into a man or not. And I was just like, I don't care. I want aliens and I want to fight bad guys. Can we just get back to that, please?
Absolutely. And the good part is that DLC, I'm sure there's somebody who has YouTube playthroughs of that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If you really want to know, you can watch it there. But I think I'm glad we're getting this at all, and this is awesome, and I cannot wait. And my son is now 15, so he could definitely experience it for the first time as well.
Yes, there we go. Start them right.
And we'll talk about our choices, and that's half of the fun.
Yes.
Well, excellent. Well, that is the news for this week, folks. But now, Carly, I'm going to take you over and buy a good piece of food because we're going to go over to our favorite nerd establishment for getting food and getting geeky, and that's the Geek Easy.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy. We're still sitting outside. They don't serve inside because of COVID, of course. So we've got a hot drum full of fire. We're going to stand around, eat some food, have some drinks, and talk about all the nerdy stuff we love. Well, we talked about Mass Effect quite a bit. So
yes, I think we're good there.
Good deal. Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about that. But, I think one thing that we both watched, so are you caught up on WandaVision?
Yes, sir, I am.
So we're in episode 5 to this point.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the series so far?
Oh man, I get just a kick out of this. There's some people who apparently have issues with Wanda doing 60s, 70s, 80s TV series, and because they're like, she wouldn't know these kinds of things. She was trapped as a kid and experimented on. It's like, yeah, but she's been out of there for years now. There's no reason she couldn't have gone back and watched these TV shows, or at least heard of them, or something along those lines. But that kind of delves into another theory that I don't think it's just her who's doing this. But anyway, so I love it. I think it's clever. It's a totally different take. When they first showed the trailer for this, I was like, this is stupid. Like, why are we going back into the Brady Bunch and all of that stuff? Because don't get me wrong, all of those older shows are beautiful for what they are, but that's not what I'm into. But watching it as it is and knowing that this is actually something going wrong, it kind of just adds this little twist behind every single thing that's happening. And you're looking for all of the glitches or any time that she changes something or all of that good stuff. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm loving it. I'm feeling it. Wanda is something else. And I gotta say, I love the fact that she has dropped the weird accent.
Yeah.
She wonderful actress, didn't really need the accent. Could have done away with that earlier on, but not everybody can do an accent. I can't do an accent to save my life. So, anywho, it's clever, and it's, oh man, what was it, episode 4 or 3? I think it was was it 4, where we see Vision not as a red guy? Am I allowed to say this part?
Yeah. Oh, spoilers, folks.
Okay.
For Vision.
Spoilers.
WandaVision, because we are going to talk about episode 5. So
yeah. So when we see dead Vision.
Oh yes. That was 4.
Man, my heart jumped into my throat. Oh, that freaked me out. like seeing him dead is whatever, but the fact that it was just out of nowhere, I was like, oh, okay, hang on, I gotta catch my breath for a second. Like, my husband next to me physically jumped. Man, this whole show, I'm loving it. I'm digging it. I'm digging the mystery. I'm loving coming up with whatever theories. We have extended conversations afterward. It's fantastic. What about you? How are you liking it?
Well, I'm liking it, but my family fell off. My wife and my son are like, I get it. So they're like, okay, got it. They're not big into like TV. They like their own stuff, so that's fine. But I love it. And episode 5 is definitely. I was trying to picture what actual sitcom it kind of is based on. So it looked like it was Family Ties was the house. So I don't know if you watched Family Ties, Michael J. Fox. Well, it kind of looks like that. The theme song was great when they entered it.
Yes.
Somebody was like Growing Pains, maybe like Family Ties, but it's definitely, yeah. I mean, it was just great. And this episode merged kind of what happened in 4 with now the show itself. So now you have it's not like it's going back and forth between the real world and WandaVision's world. You've got that blurring now where Vision is fully aware something's not right. He had thoughts, but is there? And now we have the first time we saw a character actually when it was Agnes, when basically Vision kind of gets angry about something. You see Agnes say, "Should I do that again?"
Yeah,
like,
should we take this back from the top?
Exactly.
And she's like picking up her purse and everything. Yeah.
It's very uneasy feeling now because you do feel like more is going to happen, and obviously now with Vision, obviously fully aware something's happening, and then you have Wanda break the fourth wall, I guess, at this point. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Well, yeah, man. So we watch another channel that does these little what we thought about the episode and what you might have missed in the episode kind of things. She literally breaks the fourth wall in the 5th episode herself, but she breaks the fourth wall in a sense when she blasts Monica out of Westview, because she goes through the what did they say? The family room wall, the nursery wall, the fence, and then the actual barrier. So she broke the fourth wall.
Very nice.
Which was so good. And then going back to in episode 5, we had Vision who released Norm's brain control, and Norm is freaking out. I've got a dad, I've got a sister who's taking care of my dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm in so much pain. Apparently, when they were, I think it was probably episode 3, maybe it was 4. These all blur together. Where they're matching up characters to actual people and pinning it up on the board. If you look under Norm's paper and you zoom in on it, actually they've written into that paper that whole scene of Vision unlocking Norm's brain.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you zoom in on his paper, it says, appears concerned about his father, and then blah, 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 like a whole bunch of other things and stuff like that. And so it's like, wait a second. So, like, are we getting kind of like timelines crisscrossed here, or did that just get put up by accident or something? So it's just one of those funny things that you notice that probably shouldn't have been there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones. Yeah, kind of like oopsie,
or like the guy in jeans in Star Wars.
Yeah, it was a casual day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so we get all these things happening now, and I mean, and to your point, we kind of said that, or you said that you don't think she is the only one pulling the strings, and we kind of had that sense from her where they did have the, essentially where they both rose up with their powers, kind of like, is something going to happen? And it was kind of deflated where you could just tell she doesn't really know what's going on.
Well, she even says,
yeah,
I wasn't aware of what was happening at first. I fully believe she went and talked to somebody, and that somebody was like, don't worry about it. I will help you. All you have to do is whatever they asked as the price from Wanda. And so Wanda went and snatched Vision's corpse, which is totally freaky.
We saw that.
And apparently against his will, because he has in his death wish is that nobody can use my body for anything to make it a weapon or anything else, and yet Wanda went and took his body and is now reanimating it. Or maybe somebody else's. But I think she went to somebody and was like, I don't know what to do. I am devastated. I am grief-struck. I don't know what to do. And this person's like, I got you. I just ask this in return. And we don't know what this is.
Yeah, and that takes us to, I mean, we saw these things. This is like, there's so much information. The sword break-in, we saw footage of that. All these things are happening. And then we had at the very end of the episode when you're like, what's going to happen next? They're obviously can't get on the same page. There's conflict there. And you get...
They're arguing while the credits are rolling.
Oh, that was perfect. Yeah, she just wants to stop this, so she gets the episode's over. Here comes the credits, and they're arguing within the credits. That was so well done. And so then we get a knock at the door. Wanda's like, I don't know who this is. I'm not controlling it. Vision doesn't really truly believe her. And who do we have show up? Someone not from the MCU, but from the Fox X-Men universe. And that is Pietro, but from Days of Future Past.
Yes.
And Apocalypse shows up, and it's Evan Peters, Pietro, now and he's kind of like the hip brother, the sitcom brother or whatever.
Who's this popsicle?
Yeah, exactly. So hip, and it kind of works there, but it's like, and I think to your point, something else happening. He shows up right when something was probably going to derail everything else. The barriers were going to come down. And to your point, and this leads me back to many people have been talking about something else is there. Is it Agnes, who some people said is Agatha Harkness, who was a nanny for Scarlet Witch in the comics. She's kind of a witch or a mystic. And then
she keeps saying things like in a snap and like conveniently showing up with whatever they needed.
Yep. And then we have a character who makes wishes come true, but with a bargain the devil makes, and that's Mephisto.
Yes.
So this might be a red herring. This might not be Pietro, might not be Quicksilver as we think it is. It could be Mephisto coming in right at the right time where he has to get the deal or whatever back on track.
It was, oh man, that was so great because there was the rumor that Quicksilver, Pietro, whatever you want to call him, was going to show up and that it was going to be the X-Men version of him. And like the second I saw the back of his head, I was like, oh, that's him. 100%. Like I know the back of that head because he's one of my favorite characters from X-Men. Specifically his version of Quicksilver. Loved it. Oh man, and my husband and I, of course, go into our rabbit holes of all of this. And our rabbit hole was that maybe Wanda messing with these things is actually going to be how we're going to get cross-dimensional nonsense going on. Somehow there is maybe a rift into Fox universe nonsense, and so that's how we're going to introduce them into what Marvel has already built.
Absolutely.
Very clever.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I would recommend it. Allure Magazine, of all things, has a YouTube series, and it has Elizabeth Olsen giving a history on the Wanda character from all the comic stories. And it's great. It's like 5 minutes long, and it gets you up to speed. You don't have to get all the background, but yeah, she has such an interesting backstory. Wanda originally was supposed to be the daughter of Magneto. So was Quicksilver, was supposed to be the son. Yes, it's crazy. They're originally mutants. And so this is where it's like, so I'm curious how they put this all together. They have an interesting past, is all I will say. So I would definitely recommend you check out that video. It's like 5 minutes long, but she has such a fun, way of talking through these storylines. She actually shows the comics that it comes from. So I like that she actually read all of these things. So very cool. Well, I cannot wait for episode 6. We have 4 more episodes, and then it goes right into Winter Soldier and the Falcon. So we are we're on a course of just all this awesome content. So thank goodness we need it.
Yeah, my husband mapped it out. He's like, there's basically no downtime. We have TV series, movie, TV series, movie, TV series, TV series. And so there's like no downtime. He's like, I love it.
Yeah, and if Black Widow falls out of the schedule, I'm wondering if they would move up like one of the TV series. I don't know if they can, but
I don't know. I still want Black Widow.
Oh yeah, I think we do. It's just I just hate the fact that we may not get it until movie theaters truly open, which is a shame. So hopefully they'll make a decision for us. So well, one thing I want to talk about this week is a show that came out on Sci-Fi. It's called Resident Alien. You can actually watch the show on the NBC app, the Sci-Fi app, for free. So if you don't have that service, that's where you can watch it. And this is based on a comic book. I can't remember who published it, but it's all about this alien who crashes to Earth, and he is on a mission. We don't truly know what it is yet, but he ends up encountering a human. Human freaks out. He ends up beating up the human, throwing it in an icy lake, and the human is not seen again. He takes the appearance, and this is all happens at the very beginning, so it's not really spoilers because that's the whole premise of the show. He then is able to morph and take on the appearance of the human he just got rid of. And there's a very funny way he learns how to speak English, or the human language, which is very funny. So I definitely recommend it. But then the whole premise was the gentleman that he killed was a doctor in this remote Colorado town. Well, the police come up to the home basically because they need someone to perform an autopsy. And he's like, why do you need me to perform an autopsy? Well, don't you have a doctor for that? He goes, well, we did, but the body is the doctor. So they kind of play on terms. Resident alien, resident like a doctor, but also an alien.
I get it.
Yeah, it's really fun, and the show is very tongue in cheek. Alan Tudyk, who was on Firefly, has been in a bunch of other things. He was the voice of K2SO. Very funny guy. He does a phenomenal job basically playing an alien who thinks he's smarter than everybody else, who thinks he's doing a great job as covering himself up as an alien. And it's really good. The first 3 episodes are out. I watched the first. I told my wife about it, and she's like, okay, stop talking about it. I'm just going to watch it. And she loved it. She's like, where's more? So,
Nice.
And it's definitely, I was surprised. I didn't know if it was PG-13 or R-rated or whatever, but they do drop a lot of swears and do things like that. So if you've got kids, just, maybe tell them, earmuffs or whatever. But it surprisingly has a good sense of humor, and it does that. The first episode ends with a twist. So there's more to it than you initially think, which I think is good. So I'd recommend everybody watch it.
Cool beans.
All right. Very, very 80s term there, cool beans.
That's me.
There you go. Well, okay. Well, that is it for the Geek Easy. So now it's time for us to go to a better place, our vacation destination, and that's the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week it's a topic. And I was thinking this is about time because I always like a different voice because Charlie and I always talk about the same thing. So with Carly here, we're going to get a little bit of different feedback on this. So the topic is there a series or IP you would like to be adapted into another medium? We always talk about, the things we like, but wouldn't it be great to get more of that thing you like in a different way? So, Carly, when it comes to you, what are your thoughts on this?
So there are lots of games out there that I don't play for reasons. There's either way too much swearing or it's just too gory or the whole lore behind it is too dark. So like I don't play things like Witcher or things that are coming up, Elden Ring, never going to play things like that. I also don't play MMOs very often. So ESO, I have it. I've played it once. Overwatch, I don't play. I don't do Fortnite. I don't do all those things. But all of these things have these incredible cutscenes or these beautiful trailers and all of this gorgeous stuff, especially MMOs. ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, is always doing these really cool, we're going to show you what it could be like if you were actually in the game type trailer things and these awesome cutscenes. In fact, their most recent one was just, a group of them working together to take down this magic group. And it was beautiful. And I love that kind of stuff. And Overwatch also had kind of like a short story clip that was something like 10 minutes long maybe. And it was so much fun to watch. And I know nothing about Overwatch, but I was watching. I'm like, this is so cool. I want more of that as a TV show. I would love to see video games, especially these MMOs where they say they have a story, but so much of it is grinding and this nonsense stuff and killing a bunch of people. Destiny 2 is the same way. There is a story there. I don't want to have to grind for hours and hours every day just to get to those stories. I want to see these stories, and I could go onto YouTube and watch somebody else do it, but I want to see these as like TV series. How cool would it be to have the story of what's going on in Black Region Elder Scrolls Online as an actual TV series? Just give me 4 or 5 episodes that explain the story of a group of people going through and defeating the Black Reach expansion. I would love that. I'd love to be able to learn the lore. I would love to be able to see how these characters actually interact as a group, because you play Skyrim and you play older ESO Elder Scrolls games and it's single player. So it'd be really cool to be able to see these worlds explored as groups and taking down these titanic monsters, stabbing at their foot 500 times until they die, which is what you do in video games. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to see that. That's what I want to see. So it's not a specific series or an IP or anything like that, but I just love to see more of that. Give me more of the lore without me having to invest my entire life in the game.
It's funny because my co-host Charlie doesn't play video games at all, but he loves Star Wars. And so what he's been doing is he's been watching all of the cutscenes of Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Just to get more story.
Yeah. Jedi Fallen Order especially, shoot. If that, oh man, yes.
So I'd recommend one since we're talking about MMOs. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Have you watched any of those cutscenes?
I have not yet. No. Trust me, there is a list of things. We have a list somewhere. But yeah, no, I love. Don't even get me started on Star Wars. That's a whole other podcast if you wanted that.
We actually have a Star Wars podcast. So if you ever want to come on and talk about it, I'm actually not on that one. It's my co-host from my video game show and my co-host from this show. It's like they chose that because I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars, but I don't love it, so I have opinions
all over Star Wars.
Yeah, I am too. So my opinions aren't exactly endearing to anyone. So I'm like, you know what? No one needs to hear my opinion on it. That's fine. But I really loved the cutscenes from the Old Republic. It's the game's been out since 2014, and it's just amazing to see Star Wars in a different viewpoint than the movies. So yeah, so that one's there. For myself, I've got two examples, and it's interesting because. I don't know if these would ever happen, but we talked about Mass Effect. I love it. There is an anime, there's comics, so I can't choose that one. But I don't have a Mass Effect a movie, like a film that I could see them doing. And watching The Expanse, I'm not sure if it's a series you're familiar with or not.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's based on a series of books that are supposed to be phenomenal, but they created this TV series, which is fantastic. It's one of my favorite TV series right now. I love it. The world they created, the drama, the actors, and it's kind of one of those reverse. Like Mass Effect is awesome. So if they could do what they did with The Expanse with Mass Effect, that would be awesome. But I would love to see The Expanse in a different medium, like video games, because there is book and there's all these different things. But I think it could be good because it's a cool world. It's got great sci-fi elements and it's grounded in a certain aspect. And the characters are neat to see them do different things would be awesome. That's one. The other one is one of my favorite book series of all time. It's called the Rift series. It's by Raymond E. Feast, and it's about it's fantasy, but it basically deals with Rift worlds. So basically, aliens invade these other worlds, and it's very cool. And there was one video game based on it that actually got me into the book series. So I've never had that before, where a video game based on books actually got me into the books, which is cool, which is what you want to happen, right? To bring people to other medium. And they had one good video game, but they had a second one that was not good at all. But I would love to see that series brought to life because after what I saw with Game of Thrones, and I actually interviewed the author of the series, and he and George R. R. Martin were basically peers at the time. Both doing very cool things in fantasy at the time, but George R. R. Martin just got luckier than he did. So I would love to see the same treatment with his series of books, which handles the villains in a unique way, shows the villain perspective a lot of times. I would love to see that be adapted as well. So that's kind of where I stand on it. But yeah, so very cool. And Carly, if you think of anything else, by all means, tell us in the future, and we'll talk about it in the future. Well, that is it for the show. Man, this has been a lot of fun. Carly, I'm glad you accepted my invitation. I've found so many more people on Twitter that are open to being on podcasts. I've met so many cool people in the internet world, and it takes a little bit of trust, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, this weird person, I've never heard of them before. Same thing. You were recommended by a person. I'm like, well, I don't know this person, but if this other person would recommend this person, I'm assuming they're not going to do it on a whim. So I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah, no, this was great. It kind of came out of nowhere. Avery tagged me. I was like, I don't know who this is or what this is, but sure, I'll try it out. I'm always looking for fun places to get in on just talking about stuff. I just like to talk about my things that I love. We didn't get to branch into one thing, the whole Brandon Sanderson, Stormlight Archives. If we're going to be talking about books, check out what Todd recommended. I'm going to look that up myself, but also check out Cosmere books. So Stormlight Archive, all that good stuff by Brandon Sanderson. Top-notch fantasy. There you go.
My son loves Brandon Sanderson. He read the younger kids version. It was something versus the librarians. I can't remember what it was called. He loved that series. And then he read another series about basically individuals with powers. Can't remember what that was called. But I've heard so many good things about The Way of Kings. And it's a series that I really would love to get into. My ADHD is really tough with books because if I hear something in the background, I get distracted. So books take me a long time to get through because I get pulled away. But I love really great fantasy. So, yeah, guys, check that out. And, yeah, if you are free to come back on again, when Charlie is back, I'm sure he would love to pick your brain about stuff as well.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, with that, Carly, tell people how they can find you on the interwebs.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Scarlet_stream. I am part, sorry, this is always the hard part because I don't know what to say about myself. I'm on YouTube where I do Stadia, PS5, and Xbox. Well, PS5 and Xbox eventually once there's actually, games to play. Where I do my own streaming, Scarlet_stream. I am also part of Stadia Source, where I do the Ready Gamer 1 segments. Yeah, that's pretty much the top places, I suppose. I suppose I should also plug this in here too. I do gamer accessories and gamer apparel. So if you go to readygamer1.store, it's an Etsy store where I do some really cool, unique gamer apparel. So like I have a Togepi hoodie, and then readygamer1.shop, which is my Shopify store, is where I do merchandising for various gamer centered things. And then I do woodcrafting. So I do a lot of displays. So I do like controller holders and good stuff like that made out of wood. Board games, Settlers of Catan, all that good stuff. Yeah. That's me.
I checked it out. Very cool stuff. You're very talented. Thanks. You're a graphic designer, so you've got more skill to do those things and make your stuff looks awesome. So, and I recognize your hoodie as I look at it. I'm like, I know that, but I'm not into Pokemon, so I think I know what that is, but I don't really.
Yeah, this is my Togepi hoodie based on the Pokemon Go Togepi hoodie. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I like it.
Very cool. Well, we'll have links to all your stuff so people can find you. So
Thank you.
Definitely want to support you and all the cool stuff you make in the world. So awesome. Well, with that, folks, how you can reach us? Well, we have a lot of content now. We have this show. We have Co-op Mode, which is for video games. Code 47, which is all about Star Trek. And the Holocron Chronicles, which is all about Star Wars. I told them it should be the Holo Chronicles, but they didn't listen to me.
I was going to say that. I was reading it, like I'm thinking about something like Holochronicles. It was like, how do we not have it? Why is it not called the Holochronicles?
Because apparently they don't listen to great minds, Carly. Oh,
great minds.
Like I said, Star Wars, I'm not listening to on this podcast, but that's okay. We have a YouTube channel, which is all our shows get dropped. We do basically audio versions with static background on it, just if you like to have YouTube on the background. We also have podcasts. These are all available on all the podcast services out there. But with any of these, please subscribe, review. That helps us get out in the world and get noticed. So would love it if you do that. On Twitter at Secret Friends U. And we have T-shirts on the T Public store for Secret Friends and everything. And all those proceeds go out to help basically Charlie's charity that gets children who are sick things that they enjoy, like comics and other gifts like that. So with that, I'm not going to say what Charlie says, but I'm going to say, be the hero, not the villain.
Is the Triforce of Wisdom, Link. The evil wizard Ganon has the Triforce of Power. Whoever gets both Triforces will rule this land forever. You must help me, Link.
Hey, for you, Zelda, anything.
Hero.
Hey, excuse me, princess.